What is going on, Colts Nation? It's Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, and we are covering a very interesting roster move that the Colts have made that I think might have some long-term effects into the mind of what Chris Ballard's trying to do, and hopefully trying to incentivize a player to really kick it into gear. We're going to cover all that, and we're going to cover the Colts and Titans game this weekend, or this past weekend. But you may have noticed, if you're any sort of fan of the channel or have followed along for any amount of time, that I didn't make a single video last week, which is extraordinarily rare. Usually it's every single night we post a video covering whatever we have found that the Colts, in the Colts Nation, Colts news, roster moves, all of that. But didn't post a single video last week. And there's a very, very fun reason why. And that is, not sure if you can see this, but there's a new addition to our family. And so I took all of last week off from making videos to be able to help with her and with my wife's recovery. And so now we're back. We're back on Monday. So I didn't get to cover any of one of the biggest weeks of the year, and that is the Colts versus the Titans, a rivalry that has been budding for several seasons now, where the Titans were really good and were dominating the Colts for a while. The Colts have obviously dominated the Titans for years and years and years. But now it's much more of a back and forth. Arguably more than most other teams. There's been times that the Texans have beat up on the Colts, or the Colts will destroy the Texans. I mean, that one's not really a rivalry. It's budding into one. And then Colts and Jags. Colts haven't won in Jacksonville, but the Colts have won in Indy. So it's one of those things that the Colts versus Titans is always a game that you always wonder what is the outcome going to be, because it's been so close. And it's been close at different times. Obviously, they had the season sweep on us a couple years ago, and then we had the season sweep on them last year, continuing that into this year, where the Colts beat the Titans this past weekend. And one thing is for sure, through all of the debate on Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson or whatever you fall on that line, or if Anthony Richardson is the guy, I still think he is. I still have hope in what he's going to be able to do if he's able to get healthy and stay healthy. But no matter what you think of those two guys, if Anthony Richardson had Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Treylon Burks, T. Higgins, if he had or Tyler Boyd, if he had all those guys plus Tony Pollard in the backfield, you have to wonder, and a good offensive line, you have to imagine that Anthony Richardson would be doing well above and beyond Will Levis. Will Levis is easily the 32nd best quarterback in football, and I would be willing to bet that the Tennessee Titans will once again be in the QB market at the end of the season. Now, the jury is still out on if the Colts will be in the QB market at the end of the season. Again, I still believe that Anthony Richardson's got it, though I do believe that the speculation is warranted at this point with the injury history. But that's not what we're covering today. Today, we are covering a roster move that I think has some implications that could change the face of one of the biggest deals that was made last offseason. And that is that the Colts have once again signed kicker Spencer Schrader to the practice squad. Now, you might be saying, Elijah, that has nothing to do with anything, and that's absolutely not news. I think it's more newsworthy than you think. I think it has a lot to do with where the Colts are thinking of Matt Gay's consistency and lack thereof. You see, the Colts signed Matt Gay last offseason after going through Chase McLaughlin, after going through several kickers, after the departure of Adam Vinatieri. Now, whether that's kicker or whether that's injuries or just inconsistency, the Colts have yet to find that long-term option. And when a team finds a kicker that is that long-term consistent option, you see them stick with that guy. Robbie Gould has been forever. Harrison Butker, Justin Tucker, Mason Crosby was with the Packers forever. And so you see like guys like that really stick with their team for a very long, long time. And kickers are immortal. They last until sometimes 41, 42, 43 years old and still are able to kick consistently. And what you hope for in a kicker is anyone that can kick the ball at a 95% or 90% success rate, anything short of 50 yards. And then 50 yards up, you really want to be in that league average of 65% of anything north of 50 yards, between 50 and 60 yards. And then obviously it tapers off significantly after 60, and very few kickers in football are able to make a kick above 60 yards, and yet it seems to be more and more common. But as the rest of the league is getting more and more consistent in kicks over 40 yards, or 50 yards or 60 yards, and that kind of becomes automatic, the Colts are finding themselves sitting well below league average in kicks below 40 yards. You see, Matt Gay was one of the biggest acquisitions in the Colts free agency last season and has been one of the biggest signings the Colts have made in the past several years. They locked Matt Gay up to be one of the highest paid kickers in football. I believe he was top 3. I think he's top 5 even still after 2 seasons. And yet, Matt Gay sits well below the league average in kicks above 50 yards, sitting at 60.2%, where the league average is 65.2. That's a lot of kicks to be made that he's missing. But not only that, but you see him on 35 yards, on 40 yards, on 45 yards, missing or near missing almost every single kick. Very rarely do you see him be as automatic as you would expect a $20 million kicker to be. So the signing of Spencer Schrader is, I think, more significant than you might want to admit or realize, is because it's showing that the Colts want to keep a kicker on hand. If the decision is made, and I hope that it is, or at least considered, to take Matt Gay out, if he continues to struggle with consistency and with being an automatic kicker that you expect $20 million kicker to be, Spencer Schrader should absolutely get the opportunity to be the Colts kicker, because when you have a team that is so young, has so much potential, has so much going on, you don't want to see it fall apart because of a position that should be automatic. Now, don't get me wrong. After this weekend, Matt Gay looked fine in the 3 or 4 opportunities that he got to kick the football. He looked okay. But he didn't have an opportunity to screw up. The Colts went for it on 4th down a couple times when they could have, and so it was one of those things that they definitely seemed to not put themselves in a situation to need to rely on him. But after this weekend, I will say that the Colts probably, if not definitely, have the best punter in football. Rigoberto Sanchez pinning them down at the 3-yard line or the 5-yard, whatever they actually marked it at. I forget off the top of my head. Whatever they actually marked him at is by far one of the biggest plays of the game, and absolutely destroyed any chances that the Titans would have at being able to go down the field and kick a field goal to tie the game. Absolutely should be getting all the recognition in the world. But I think the signing of Spencer Schrader to the practice squad, once again, I mean, he had an opportunity early in the season when Matt Gay was dealing with a sports hernia, and he showed out. He did fine. I mean, it was one of those things that you really, really hope to see. And so now I think that this is an opportunity for the Colts to not hold it over Matt Gay's head, or maybe to incentivize him, to say, listen, this is what we got. We know who we have here. You're one of the highest paid kickers in football. You need to be performing as such. And I don't think it's far above Ballard, based on what we've seen of him, to incentivize his players. And I think that that's going to be a very interesting development, a very interesting story that we need to follow. And as the story develops, obviously, I'll update as much as we can. But I do think this is, again, more tea there that I think is getting enough credit for. This is, I think, a big deal. And I love to see Spencer Schrader. I love the story of an undrafted free agent. And I really hope to see him to be able to show up and at least have the opportunity to prove himself and get this roster spot if it is not solved and Matt Gay is not automatic. But we will see as it goes forward. But for now, we are back. We're going to be making videos every single day again, and we're so excited to see Anthony Richardson come back to the Miami Dolphins this weekend.